Hey guys, so Power of the Elements is going to be legal soon, and so it's exciting. It does bring some really strong strategies such as Sprite and Tier Elements, so I thought I'd provide an updated Cyber Dragon Sprite deck profile. And before I continue, make sure to check out Yassine's channel. He's really the mastermind behind the Cyber Dragon Sprite strategy for a while now, so I'll provide all the links down below. And now for me personally, I posted a video a couple of weeks ago. It was basically me testing with the going first Cyber Dragon Sprite strategy, and so for me personally, I felt that it felt a little clunky, that list, and so I decided to actually start testing going second instead with Sprite and just do what Cyber Dragons do best. And so basically the Sprite stuff is really a nice addition because it just provides a lot of pressure on the opponent, because there's just so many things that specials themselves, and there's a lot of things to potentially negate. And so before Anaconda was banned, with Cyber Dragons, basically, let's say you use your board breakers and you try to do your Cyber Dragon Infinity line of play, and maybe that gets interrupted, but they use up all their negates. Typically, then you can at least turbo into Anaconda, bring out Dragoon, pop and burn, and attack for game, or at least very close to it and set up a good board presence. So now we don't have that anymore because Anaconda is banned. But instead, now with the Sprite stuff, with very minimal resources, you can set up, a negate or two, as well as the smasher that's gonna banish. And so after breaking your opponent's board and being able to set that up, it's actually pretty nice. And as much as I hate to say it, I do think that at this point, the Cyber Dragon Sprite is the most competitive version of a Cyber Dragon variant. Now, of course, it's not the best Sprite variant, right? Because you should, of course, play it with frogs or evil twins, whatever. Those are much better choices. And also, I'm saying that because Sprite right now is, of course, very expensive. I mean, at the time of recording, the Sprite Blues are $120 Canadian or $95 US, so it's a lot. So it's a lot to pay to play just a rogue variant of Sprite, but it is there. And personally, I would wait until the prices come down a little bit before buying this, especially if you are looking to play with Cyber Dragons. But enough of me rambling, so let's just get right into the deck profile. Alright, so let's just get right into the deck profile, and before I begin, a big thanks to Dragon Shield for sending me this amazing playmat, and the sleeve I'm using today is their Orchid sleeves. Basically, it's a really nice color on the back and black on the front, so it's dual so that the art pops a little bit more. So on to the list, we're going to start with the Cyber Dragon stuff, which of course we're playing the 3 core, the 3 hers, and we're going to play just the 1 Naxer. I typically play 2 if you've seen my other profiles, which I like, but you know what, we're meshing in another archetype in here, so we're going to try to condense it a little bit, at least as much as we can. We're still playing the 3 OG Cyber Dragons. So in my previous video, because it was a going first variant especially, I was just playing 1 Cyber Dragon with just relying on Galaxy Soldier and not Machine Dupe. I personally really like the Machine Dupe playstyle, that's why I opted to make going second strategy instead, but up to you guys if you don't want to play Dupe when you're combining with Sprite. Then we have some other monsters in the 2 Galaxy Soldiers. Of course, this is the other play to get you started and going into your Infinity plays. Of now that you are running Sprite stuff, which are unfortunately not light, so Galaxy Soldier can sometimes be a brick, but you know what? You do need it. And then the other monsters, of course, you do need the 3 Ash, 2 DD Crow that I'm maining now. I think this is going to be a very good card for the next format, just because of like tier element stuff, and also against Sprite it's very nice. And I mean, there's still going to be something like Eldritch, for example. Banishing the Golden Lord is very hard on them, which I know because I play that deck myself. So those are for the other monsters. And then of course the new Sprite stuff. So we are gonna technically play 3 blue. Sadly, I was not able to get a 3rd copy. Sorry about that. But this is the best of the Sprite. That's why it's so expensive for a reason. But it adds your Sprite monster basically that you need, such as the Jet, which is typically the next one that you're searching off of blue, and this gets you the Sprite spells. Usually you may be getting, for example, a starter as you build your stuff, but if you already have enough extenders, then you would just get that Smasher, which is something that you can banish. We're playing just a 1 red and 1 carrot. Ideally, I want to play 2 reds. This is a monster negate, this is a spell trap negate, and so it can potentially come up, but again, it's a bit tight. It's already a big list actually. It's 50 card in the main, which I've sort of started to like with my other decks as well, and it still works fine. Now onto the continuing with the Sprite is the starter, and so basically this is going to help special out your Sprite stuff. This is really the best one to draw essentially, and you can really just get your Sprite combo started just with this alone. Now keep in mind though, when you play it, not only do you take the burn damage, which might potentially come up in a tournament and a late game situation, but the most important thing is you are locked into, level 2, rank 2, whatever, if you play this card. So if in an instance, especially when this deck is going second, if you're trying to turbo into Zeus by going to Sky Cavalry with like 2 level 2s, just know if you play this card earlier in that turn, you're not going to be able to, because Zeus is definitely not a rank 2. The other card, so I'm very annoyed right now. So I ordered this package and the store that I bought it from forgot to include the Smasher. It's fortunately a very cheap card, so that's good, but they actually originally forgot these 2 cards as well, and I caught that, but I failed to catch that they forgot to include the Smasher. So again, sorry for these proxies. So again, this is supposed to be 3 blue, and this is supposed to be a Smasher, but I'll get that eventually. Continuing on with the other spells, which I guess my order has been kind of weird, is the 3 Cyber Emergency, the 1 Repair Plant, and 1 Rev System. So I'm not playing Cyber Low Fusion in this list particular. I'm still iffy on that because, again, we're trying to mash 2 different archetypes, and I'm trying to condense the packages a little as possible. Rev System is very important now. It's sort of essentially the same purpose back when Anaconda was legal. Just with core alone, you can search this. Link it to Almirage, special core back with the Ref System. Then because cores are level 2, you can go into Elf, and then you can just bring back the core with the Elf, then exceeds into Gigantic Spright with the core and this Elf, and then just start your Sprite combos that way. And then, like I said earlier, we are playing the triple machine dupes. I know some people may not want to play this along with Sprite stuff. I think it's up for experimentation, really. I've been trying both ways, whether this without it, because I'm going second. I really do like machine dupe, and of course it can potentially break, especially like when you don't draw your baby cyber dragons. One thing though, so Gigantic Sprite, that can special out core from the deck. The only downside though is that turn you're not going to be able to use dupe, because the Gigantic, by using Gigantic's effect, you're not going to be able to special summon Cyber Dragons, which are level 5s, but the next turn around, perhaps you can get into it if you didn't draw any baby Cyber Dragons. And so, you know what, it's there, and I really like it. On to continuing with these spells, we do have 2 Pot of Prosperities. I decided to cut it to 2 because I'm also playing double talents, and of course if you use Prosperity, then you're not going to be able to use other draw cards from your turn, so you'll be only able to use the other 2 effects. But I think talents is going to be quite good. Next format, you have something like Sprite or Tier Elements that are just essentially bound to be activating something monster effect on your main phase. So really like Sprite. And another card that I think a lot of people will be main decking even is Dark Ruler, because against Sprite in particular, this card is quite strong, and against Tier Elements it can be good. The only downside is they can, the window may come later, so it's sort of hard against that matchup. And we're also playing the Call by the Grave, basically along with the DD Crow. I'm just looking to banish things, whether it's Tier Elements or Sprite with like the Toad, so I think it's going to be a very good card. Onto some traps. I could only fit 2 imprims, but we are also playing the triple evenly, and when matched with Dark Ruler no more, that is just super sweet, and you just clear massive boards. So that's it for the main deck. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it is 50 cards, which is a little big, but again, I've been really enjoying slightly bigger lists lately, and it's been working out. And so yeah, but up to you in terms of what cards you want to cut out. Alright, so let's move on to the extra deck, starting with the Almirage as usual. Very important, like I mentioned earlier, with that core ref system. We're going to go with the 2 elves, which seem to be pretty standard with most lists. This is a really good link to, and essentially becomes like our new Anaconda in terms of a really good link 2 that we kind of turbo into, and then just starts your Sprite combos all on its own essentially. Some more link 2s are Lina and Dark. So now Lina, obviously I've been playing it because Cyber Dragons are all light monsters, but now we can also play Dark because the Sprite monsters, they are dark, at least some of them. And I guess you could technically play this even if you didn't play Sprite stuff in your Cyber Dragons, because like the Chimera Tech monsters are dark, but it just can come up a lot more. Some more links though is the Nightmare Phoenix. This is very useful now, especially if your opponent plays there can be only 1, because now we have, the machines and Cyber Dragons, and then the Sprite stuff and Thunders, which can easily special themselves, and then you can just go into a Nightmare Phoenix because those are 2 different types. Pop that, there can be only 1 for example, and then just continue on with your plays hopefully. And then that other link 3 that could come up when you especially use their effects is the Nightmare Unicorn. very good for shuffling cards, and you are going second, so probably can come up a bit more. In terms of the exceeds, we're going to start off with the gigantic Spright. So this guy is can get pretty beefy, can be 3200 if you end up basically using Elf as one of the materials. And just start your Spright plays, and as I mentioned earlier, it can technically bring out Cyber Dragon Core from the deck. Sometimes that might come up if you already have access to all of your other Spright monsters, and you just want to bring out that core, for example, and then get it to the grave. And then if you're playing over Cybernetic Overflow, which I have in the side that I'll show you, then that becomes live. Or maybe you have the machine dupe, and then for next turn, let's say your board gets cleared, then you have that core engraved that you, because you special out earlier in the turn before, and let's say you linked it off or something. But now you can banish the core, bring out a baby Cyber Dragon, use machine dupe, and continue with your Cyber Dragon plays instead. The other rank 2 that you're probably seeing a lot with Spright builds is the Sky Cavalry Centuria. Basically, rank 2, it cannot be destroyed by battle as long as it has an Exceeds material. It can actually also bounce your opponent's card, it's optional, and that could be useful against something like, for example, Mirror Jade, so that you bounce it so that its effect to nuke doesn't trigger. And then after that, you just go into Zeus. You could also play Downer Magician as well. I was going back and forth with that. I didn't end up doing it with this, but you know, it's there. And then of course our Cyber Dragon babies, Nova and Infinity, very, very, very strong. Infinity really Omni Negate, sucks up a monster, at least in attack position, so it's nice. And then their daddy is the AA Zeus, and so that you can go over either on top of the Infinity or the Sky Cavalry play. So you basically have two different rank plays to be able to go into this now. And then of course the Rampage, and so I'm playing this even though you realize that I'm not playing Cyberload Fusion or Overload Fusion, and that's because sometimes, you know, let's say you get Nibiru on Nova, which don't get me wrong, Nibiru might not be as popular next format, but in any case, if this gets sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can bring out Rampage. So I do like to have that sort of insurance. It can come up, and then this can just foolish like your Hers and Core or Hers and Naxer, and might be able to help you continue to grind, as well as being able to attack multiple times. And then we have the other two Chimera Tech monsters, the Mega Fleet, which can be sort of useful against Spright because you can go into this and it's 2400 attack versus a Toad, which is 2200, although they might have the Dupe Frog, but you know, it's there. And the Chimera Tech Fortress, usually you're doing this through giving your opponent the Jizukuru and then contact fusing away. You'll notice that I wasn't able to fit the Jizukuru in the main, but it is in my side, and so it definitely has uses and it's definitely worth playing. Alright, and finally, let's move on to the side. We're going to start with the third copy of DD Crow that I'm going to put in the side, just in case of that, again, tier limit matchup, or maybe Spright as well. We do have that Jizukuru I mentioned earlier, just in case, if especially against something where it's just a monster that's very hard to out. Kaiju are always nice, and it is searchable in Cyber Dragons through Repair Plant. Some traps, we're going to go with the D-Barrier, very, very strong card. Really, you can't stop it aside from Red Reboot or Crossout Designator if they have to be playing that and this. But it's just incredibly strong, honestly. And fusion strategies are quite popular right now, so I think you're good if you're playing this. We do have some board break cards in terms of the Lightning Storm, as well as the Feather Duster, and I'm also throwing in another Twin to boot. Back row is against Cyber Dragons, like, we are quite weak to Floodgates, and so are Sprites, so it sort of essentially becomes doubled. And so nice to have some back row removal, especially quick play because of anti-spell fragments. Although the good thing with Sprite stuff is that they're not really weak to anti-spell fragments at all, but Cyber Dragon strategy is. And on top of the board breaking presence is just the the Forbidden Droplets, just for some added negates on top of the Dark Ruler that we're main decking, as well as the two Imperms. And I suppose I should have brought this one earlier with the Back Row Hate is the Red Reboot, really the strongest of all Back Row Hate cards. Some people advocate for it to be banned. I do understand that, honestly, because for the most part, if you get this flipped on you, or used on you, sorry, you are probably going to lose if you're a back row heavy deck. And then the other trap, final trap, is the Overflow for when I decide to just intentionally go first instead. I actually do really miss it in the main. Even though we're going second strategy, it's always nice to have this because you clear your opponent's board, and hopefully you have enough extenders that you know, you can actually use Core Search to get this instead, so that, you know, as your opponent tries to come back, you can also pop multiple cards, and it's just a really, really nice card to have. Alright guys, so that was it for the deck profile. Hope you found that useful. Now I'm going to continue testing this strategy a lot and refine the list over time, so definitely tune into my channel as I look to provide some more testing videos. So, you know, that's it for today, and so again, as usual, thanks to my Patreons for your continued support, and yeah, take care guys.